but you can't really incriminate, right? So the existing anti-discrimination laws, they don't address anything in regards to AI because most of them was created before the internet even was a thing. So
Right.
this whole preparation of technological advancements, whether it's big data or machine learning or AI, like there's no statutes on the board. And people say, well, I'll sue. Well, yeah, I talk about it in my book. There's been lots of cases through facial recognition or bias hiring where there's this whole concept, and you guys would know this because you're attorneys, called disparate impact and disparate treatment. So disparate impact is that some algorithm or some against you that was unintentional. And that's what these organizations are hiding around, the algorithm, the technology, meaning that we didn't know what was going to happen. So you might win the case, but every judge would say that's disparate impact. Well, disparate treatment is when you can prove that somebody hurt you or harmed you and was intentional, which many of these algorithms are intentional. They're very intentional. They know their outcome. Like when I go to a client, no matter where that client is in the world, and they want my team to come in, they already know the outcome that they want, right? They already kind of know, and their goal is to provide efficiency and cost-cutting savings. So to do that, if that's to reduce staff or to replace people or to say, hey, if I'm an insurance company, I want these rates to be X and I want to use AI, well, now they are able to hide behind the algorithm because you can't really call them rates. This wasn't me. I didn't do it. That was what the algorithm did. That's what Sater said.
Yeah, but I want to add something to Calvin's statement here because I interviewed Congressman Brad Sherman of California on the issue of regulation. And he just said, Barbara, I don't think it's going to happen because this is a $1 trillion industry. And right now, the race is to who can get more power. It's not about making it better. It's more tools coming out and more power. It's a great power shift. So, that's why it has to come from the bottom. It has to be a major civil rights issue. And I also want to throw in the diversity thing because we need to know about this. Some of the companies, the corporations, are getting around diversity by creating artificial black models. For example, is a company that digitally created black models. And I think Levi also did an avatar that was supposed to be a person of color. And this is what we have to look around. They can say, we got diversity now, but they don't have real black people. Once again, I'm talking about replacement.
And
Exactly.
that's, there's just, this field is such a broad one. There's so much to cover, and we're running out of time. So let me just try to focus in on two issues before our show will end. One is I do want to talk, about the fact that 40%, it's estimated that 40% of all existing jobs will be gone in the coming future because of because of robotism and all kinds of other technology. And I wanted people to understand that when we're talking about technology, we're not just talking about robots. We're not just talking about the chat GBT. We're also talking about, what you call the GRIN, all of it. Yeah. Genetics, the robotism, the artificial intelligence, and nanotechnology. All of these things that people really need to know about. I mean, I know that we're doing this one show, everyone, today, but Daryl and I are committed to doing future shows that start just really going more and more in depth on what's happening throughout this technology. But this book this wonderful book, The Rise and Fall of the Techno Messiah, will give you such an incredible overview of everything that's happening in these fields. But one thing I want to talk about that has been one of your main themes here is the desire of man to be God, to create his own image, and the desire, you talk about, how people went crazy over Steve Jobs, talk about the Book of Jobs, it's replacing the Book of Job, all of these things. And you talk about, the biggest problem here is not just the racism, which is ugly enough, but the entire lack of morality, the entire lack of spiritual grounding in these technologies, as people really do want to replace and destroy, let's say they want to replace and create a new religion built around worship of technology. Can you talk a little? I know that's been one of your main themes. Can you tell us about that some more?
Yeah, well, this is why I couldn't stop writing, because in Japan and Germany, I'm going to talk about trends. They have absolutely robotic priests who are doing funerals and doing sermons. This is a trend. They are also having AI to write Bibles. This is a trend. They're also changing, the culture is changing because there's a big move to have robotic marriages, the marriage between robot and humans, and mostly men, and they want to even have a marriage certificate. And the way they say that they should have it, because they say, well, once upon a time, it was illegal for blacks and whites to marry. And once upon a time, you couldn't have same-sex marriage. Now, all that is changed, so the next trend will be robotic marriage. So, the culture is changing. And even in America, you have to really think, because unfortunately, some pastors are now using AI for their sermons. And we all know we're supposed to go to God about that, but that's changing. Wow. So the whole thing is changing. Our religion is changing, and since when we have God and ethics involved, this is why Calvin is so great. When I read his book, I mean, I went to MIT to try to talk about ethics a couple of years ago, and they were saying they don't do that there. So I don't know. Maybe it changed, but this man with a degree in engineering and ethics, because that's where we have to put our focus. We cannot have AI running wild, fed by rich folks who want the algorithms to chart our progress, and we're being left behind. And we didn't have a chance to talk about voting, but the 2020 they had the Russians in there with the AI.
Exactly.
So now we're going to have to really keep our eyes on what they're going to do this time.
Yes. So as we close this segment, can you tell people how do they get in touch with you?
Well, good. You can go to drBarbaraReynolds.com or BarbaraReynoldsBook.com, or you can even email me. It's Reynew, REYNEW 77 @gmail.com, because it's available at Amazon.com. But if you get it from me directly, of course, it'll be autographed.
Well, I can't begin to thank you enough for your book, because it's rich. I mean, it's everybody, when you read this, you're going to encounter so many of the greatest minds of our times. You're going to see so many personalities, so many characters. This is a very readable book that you will enjoy reading. And we know, Mr. Lawrence, that we've only put our toe in the water. this discussion. We just wanted people to get a preview. We will be going more and more in depth into these subjects. But how do people get in touch with you, sir?
Absolutely. They can go out to Calvin D. Lawrence at hiddeninwhitesight.com. Most folks get in contact with me just via LinkedIn. I am very active on LinkedIn. I'm very opinionated on this topic.
Yes.
For sure.
That's good. That's a good thing.
Oh, for sure. So definitely LinkedIn is probably the easiest way. If you just go out and search my name, put space IBM, you will definitely get me.
Well, you're amazing, and just thank you to our guests. And Daryl, we must tell people about next week because we'll be down in Brunswick, Georgia. Daryl, to you.
Yeah, absolutely, Barbara. We'll certainly, please, we encourage everyone to come and join us down at the Glenn County Circuit Courthouse in Brunswick, Georgia, as they hear the motion for new trial filed by the murderers of Ahmaud Arbery. We're going to be there. We'll be in the courtroom. And my goodness, we'll be out front of the courthouse demanding that 110% justice for Ahmaud be continued and this motion for new trial be denied. That's on June the 5th. And June 24th, we also invite you to join us virtually as we have a national teletown hall. We'll be talking about Project 25. We'll also be talking about this Alexander versus South Carolina case, or as Barbara, as I like to say, the Supreme Court said black voters have no voting rights that a white conservative legislature is bound to respect. We're going to be talking about that on June 24th. 2024 at 7 p.m. If you want to be a part of that, that's on our Facebook page. You'll be able to view that. On July the 17th, we're also going to be hosting John Lewis National Day of Actions all across the country. We'll have over 200 locations where people will be standing up for voting rights, standing up against this decision saying that the black voters' voice can be muted in South Carolina from this Supreme Court, standing up for the Voting Freedom to Vote Act and the John R. Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, as well as the Native American Voting Rights Act and D.C. statehood.
Yes.
D.C. statehood. We encourage you to follow us on Twitter, or X as it is now called, at TJC_DC. You can follow Barbara Arnwine at Barbs73. You can follow me at Free D-Vote, Daryl, D-A-R-Y-L. Folks, we appreciate you being here. We appreciate our guests being here. And wherever you are, whatever the issue is, don't stay on the sidewalks and watch stuff go by and happen to your community. Get in the streets and get in the way. Make the change. Be the change we demand. Folks, get off the sidewalks. Get into the streets. Until next Tuesday, noon, Eastern Standard Time. Peace, everybody.
Peace.
The preceding program was paid for by Barbara Arnwine.
Vision loss is not something that you feel until it happens.
Most people lose their vision from diseases like macular degeneration and glaucoma, not at birth.
With macular degeneration, you lose your central vision.
You have a blind spot right in the center of your face, so I can't actually see your face.
So even that little circle in which I could see became a big blur.
I was 65 when I first was diagnosed with glaucoma.
There were no symptoms. I had no headaches.
3 million Americans have glaucoma, and half don't even know it.
11 million people in the United States have macular degeneration.
You lose mobility, independence, changes your entire life.
So many eye disorders can be treated if caught early.
My husband tells me that I have beautiful brown eyes, and I don't want to lose that.
Make a plan today to get your eyes checked.
Visit brightfocus.org to learn more.